I have a few things that I want to go through into today's episode because I want to talk about the new features, some of the new rules that include like half-court shots, right? I'm also going to be going through some conference standings through the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, but I've also made a whole list of custom off-season awards. For trades, we've done that for free agency, so favorite, worst, and underrated, such as MVP, DPOY, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man, Most Improved Player, Coach of the Year, of course, Clutch Player of the Year, and I have a custom one, a custom award that I'm going to be giving out to one particular person. So Nationers, welcome back to another episode of The Realest Podcast, episode 85. Banner is right behind me. I hope that you guys are enjoying your start to your week. You know, it's a Sunday through Saturday schedule, but is it really? Is it more like a Monday through Sunday schedule? You know, I think Monday does kind of bring down the amazingness that Sunday is. You know, we have football Sundays, you know, church if you attend church. There's a lot of great things on Sunday. It's a lazy Sunday. It's a time to relax. But sometimes eminently, you know that Monday is coming up, and it can be kind of rough. However, it is great to see you guys back in for another podcast episode. Today, we are going to be talking about the NBA because NBA basketball is back. We did an episode, obviously, a month and a half ago for NFL football, which I've been doing some watch parties, been really enjoying that. Even though I am a Raiders fan, it's been a tumultuous 6 weeks. We're going into a week against the Chiefs, which you're already like, oh, okay, they're heating up. The Raiders, it is what it is. But today, we're here to talk about basketball, NBA basketball in particular. So I'm going to be going through a handful of things. I want to get a little creative because it's the Realest Podcast. It truly is. Thank you to all of you who listen. Thank you to all of you who tune in on the YouTube channel and watch these because I dedicated this episode because the NBA only comes back every once a year, right? It lasts up until June when the NBA finals, and then we don't have anything July other than maybe summer ball. We have August, which is like maybe Euro ball, and it's a long time, right, before NBA is back. But basketball is generally kind of an all year thing. I'm not watching like Euro basketball a ton. I'm box score watching, I'm watching highlights, etc. But I have a few things that I want to go through into today's episode because we did the episode for the NFL. I gave all my rewards, my predictions on how the teams are going to go, which maybe next episode we kind of talk about because that will be about halfway through the season. But what I really want to talk about here, okay, is I want to talk about the new features, the new rules, something to expect, especially with new broadcast deals. Some of the new rules that include like half-court shots, right? So I want to go through that. I'm also going to be going through some conference standings through the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. I also want to go through, again, the awards that would typically be brought out, which I have one that I actually made my own, very similar to what football has. I did make my own for the awards, but I've also made a whole list of custom off-season awards. Things that before the season gets started, who had the best offseason? What was the best trade? What was the worst trade? What was the most underrated trade? Something that's going to go under the radar, but then you're going to realize, oh my gosh, that person, that was actually a great signing. We've done that for trades. We've done that for free agency, so favorite, worst, and underrated. Then we also, I went through the underdog team of the year, okay? A team that people are, I guess looking at like, they scratch them off, right? Like that's an easy win. We can beat them in 3 quarters, right? So that's the underdog team of the year. Then I also have the most overhyped team of the year. Now this is going to be very interesting. And again, I have all the awards such as MVP, DPOY, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man, Most Improved Player, Coach of the Year, of course, Clutch Player of the Year. And I have a custom award that I'm going to be giving out to one particular person. So stay tuned in for that because NBA basketball is back. There's a handful of rules that are coming into the game that were not implemented or a lot of people have been asking for a handful of years, right? So one thing that's been statistically, I guess not really proven, but you kind of just see it if you've ever really watched an NBA game, right? And that is these half-court heaves. A lot of people are like, oh my goodness, like what about if they get like a 70-foot, across the court heave? And they make it, right? We look at someone like Peyton Pritchard, who plays for the Celtics. He continues to make them. I don't really know how else to put it. He just continues to make them. And he's the guy that, I guess you maybe call it the Peyton Pritchard rule, right? It's basically half-court heaves that there's certain specifications that they count and then they don't count it. The clock has to be like under 3 seconds. It has to be over 36 feet. And it also has to start in the backcourt. It's just these very weird specifications, which maybe they go from like 3 seconds to like 5 seconds. Who knows? Maybe they drew the line at 3 because that's when most of them are kind of inbounded and actually taken. But because like what happens if the shot's taken at like 3.5, right? Like 3.2? Is it not going to count? So the one thing that it does is that for this half court here, I'm going to call it the Peyton Pritchard rule. I am. The Peyton Pritchard rule basically is, again, those 3 seconds, under 3 seconds throughout the first 3 quarters. So that's first, second, and third. The fourth quarter does not count. The other side of it is the play actually has to be inbounded or started in the backcourt. So that is obviously more on the empty side. If you don't know what backcourt is, basically the hoop that you're looking at, so over here, right? So we're looking at this hoop. We're going this direction, right? But obviously for the other team, they're going this direction. There's a halfway point. So I'm the half court here, right? So we're scoring. We bring up the ball. Boom, boom, boom. You pass me. Then the ball, this is how I always remember it. The ball then, somehow gets deflected off of your team and it ends up in the backcourt. You pick it up. It's a backcourt violation. So if you're ever wondering what backcourt versus front court, that's basically it. Backcourt is the side where your back is and the front is where your front is. There's ways that you could think about it, but that's how I think about it, is that the backcourt is backcourt violation. So all of that to say, it has to start at the backcourt. The other side of it is how it's statified. I think that's a word, statified, is how it actually goes into the book. So if somebody does take an attempt throughout these first 3 quarters, under 3 seconds, all the specifications that required for this Peyton Pritchard rule, what it does is that the shot will count as a team stat, but it won't go to an individual performance. So let's say I'm LeBron James, right? The oldest player in the NBA. Someone who is kind of notorious for not taking these. That's kind of why I bring him up, because he doesn't really take a lot of these half-court heaves. He will be, inbounding the ball and to just kind of dribble it out because 1, he doesn't really want to shoot it. 2, it's obviously going to look bad for his stats if he had a good game, right? Because looking at it, like 9 of 15 is like, it's all right, but 9 of 16 is like, right? So basically, if you were to take one of these shots, the total shots for the team will be 0 or 0 of 1, depending on if you miss or make it. But let's say he misses it. LeBron James shoots it. He misses it. But it won't go against him. So he'll be still 0 of 0, which, mind you, like it's very rare for him to be not taking a shot in throughout the first 3 quarters, right? It has happened, I believe, pretty recently that he did not actually shoot a shot in the first quarter in like a super long time. Pretty wild to say, right? It's LeBron James, the greatest basketball player of all time. So the other thing that is coming to the NBA rule-wise is the Stephen Curry rule. This is what I'm going to call the Stephen Curry rule. Now, the Stephen Curry rule was brought to the board. They passed it, all of that. Those Stephen Curry rules that even after the ball has been shot, the follow-through hand cannot be touched. And this is the Stephen Curry rule for one reason. I believe it was the Clippers in a Western Conference, final, right? Or just a matchup, right? They were basically aiming for Stephen Curry's follow-through hand, which is his right hand because he shoots right-handed. Because Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. Of course, that's what you're going to do. You're going to try and hit his hand every single moment. You see this in NFL with someone trying to, maybe sack the quarterback a little bit more aggressive or push the quarterback down, even though he may have already thrown the ball away or, it left his hand, right? You see this all the time in the NFL. This is very similar in essence. This is putting it in NFL to NBA terms, right? That Stephen Curry, he would follow through and, the one thing that he's really good at is shooting. If you can eliminate and continue to injure his hand or rattle it a little bit more, it will now count as a foul. Now, I don't know how privy they're going to be to calling this, because I think one of two. It's very hard if like maybe I graze the bottom of his hand. It's just like, okay, if I, maybe graze his thumb, are they going to call like a slight graze regardless of force? Like if I go like that and like, yeah, it hurts. I don't know how they're going to necessarily call it. We're going to have to see how it plays out in the brand new schedule that is out on NBA. So there are a ton of more NBA games coming out. Now, I'm kind of speedrunning the rules. I hope you guys obviously understand what these rules are. Half court shots now don't count individually. They count team statistic wise. Certain specifications, the Steph Curry rule, hitting the follow through hand. It's pretty basic stuff it's pretty basic rules. Now, there's some landing stuff. The Zaza Pachulia rule, can't land where the shooter just jumped in, moving A to B, all of these good things. But these are rules that I think are pretty prevalent in today's NBA. One for entertainment, for half-court heaves. Two, player protection. I completely understand. I'm not really against any of these rules. It'll just be interesting to see how they play out. And like I mentioned, the schedule of NBA, the NBA Watch Guide is what they're calling it, which they put out these every single year. But this one's particularly interesting because the NBA has now new broadcasting rights. So Turner Sports, which is basically TNT, they gave up. They just did not renew the rights, or were not able to come to a deal with the rights for the NBA. But in a way that kind of opened up more access to the NBA as a whole, which is actually pretty nice because there's a lot of subscriptions now. Thursday Night Football's on Prime Television and Prime TV, so it's not on standard cable. You're also looking at, again, just other sports kind of existing, like MLS is on Apple TV. You're also looking at baseball, which is on like FS1, which like you might be able to buy a subscription to that, or you might have to buy the channel. There's a lot to it, right? So this is the NBA Watch Guide. In case you guys are very curious, it looks drastically different. It does kind of make sense. It also kind of doesn't make sense. But if you have Prime or Peacock, you are in for a treat. So basically, big broadcasting game. So I'm just going to go through Sunday through Saturday. Sunday, ABC, NBC, and Peacock. That's where you can find an NBA game. Now, I'm assuming, let's say it's like the Lakers versus Warriors. I'm assuming that's where you can find them, right? Now, on Monday, Peacock. You can just find games on Peacock, which again makes these semi-out-of-market games actually a little bit more manageable. It gets more people into broadcasting, gets more people into just working in an environment that these games are going to be televised in a setting like this. So Peacock Monday, Tuesday, NBC and Peacock. So again, Peacock, more big games. Now this is where things kind of flip here. So Wednesday, ESPN, just ESPN. So I'm assuming that's ESPN 1 or ESPN 2, which is kind of nice. I mean, there's ESPN games anyways, so I like it. Thursday night, Prime, which I think is really nice because that's also paired up with Thursday Night Football. So I don't think that Prime Sports will necessarily be streaming any basketball games, but I think that they will definitely be streaming the Thursday night games for NFL. So again, super excited about that. So Prime on Thursday, Prime on Friday, and ESPN on Friday. So ESPN's got a double slate again, Prime. Then you're also looking at Saturday, Prime and ABC. So it's kind of these weird work shifts. So if you are a cable network person, these are the days to watch out, okay? Sunday, ABC and NBC. Tuesday, NBC. Wednesday, ESPN. Friday, ESPN. Saturday, ABC, which again, you kind of pair these up in a way. Peacock. So it's easy to think about it for streaming. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Peacock. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Prime. So I like it. It's not my favorite. It is kind of cluttered, but if you think about it like that, on streaming, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all Peacock. Then you have ESPN Wednesday. You obviously have it Friday, but try not to think about it. Then you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Prime, which I like, which is nice because then my mom could just turn on the game and boop, 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 watch it. She doesn't have to pay for League Pass, which I don't think I'm going to be paying for League Pass this year, just because I got to lock in. I'll describe why I'm locking in a little bit later, as we're ending 2025 off on a strong note. But that's some of the scheduling stuff that's going on. I also want to mention, in about 40 minutes, we're doing our NBA fantasy draft. So at 8 p.m. PST, we're going to be doing our fantasy draft. So I need to get this podcast episode done. But I also want to take my time. It's the Realest Podcast. We're here to enjoy it, right? Perfect. So I want to get into some standing predictions. Or do I? You know what? We'll hold on to the standing predictions. We're going to go to my custom awards. I only mention these custom awards before the standing predictions because I feel like some of these moves actually kind of influence my standing prediction, how they're going to do this season, right? So one thing to note is, again, I have my favorite, worst, and underrated offseason trade and offseason free agency signing, okay? So trades and free agency are very different. Trades are like, hey, we own this person, you know, they're on our team, they're on our roster, we're trading this person to another team for something else, right? Then signing is like, hey, we're free, like we can go somewhere, we can go do something. If we want to go from the Warriors to, you know, the Lakers, we can. So let's start off with favorite off-season trade. Now, I'm going to give you guys a few lists of things that I really enjoy, and then I'm going to give you my favorite. So my favorite offseason trade, Lonzo Ball for Isaiah Okoro. So a Cavs and Bulls switch. Lonzo Ball is going to the Cavs, and Isaac Okoro is going to the Bulls. I like this. It's not a very split trade, but I think you get a very talented Lonzo Ball who's coming off a lot of knee injury for Isaiah Okoro, who was kind of a rotational guy for the Cavs last season. And I think that the Cavs are just kind of going all in. So I understand the move to get rid of Isaac Okoro. And, you know, it allows Okoro to kind of thrive a little bit more in an offense like the Bulls. I like it. I like looking at Lonzo Ball in preseason has been a delight. Oh my gosh. So I like it for that main reason, because it's not I think on paper it's just okay. But then you actually kind of see it in person. You see how Lonzo Ball is actually playing in this Cavs system, even with some of the secondary guys in the preseason, you know, like the second unit. It is very exciting to see. So I like that trade a lot. Duncan Robinson going to the Pistons for Simeon Fontecchio to the Miami Heat. Now, this was a sign-in trade, actually, so Duncan Robinson was apparently on a contract year. Maybe that's wrong, because I know that he was getting paid a crap ton of money. However, I like this trade for one of two reasons. Duncan Robinson basically replaces Malik Beasley in Detroit, so he's still going to be doing off the screen pick and pop, type threes, or just rolling threes like he does. I like that trade for him, for Duncan. I think his time in Miami was kind of up. I don't really know where Miami goes without him, but I do think that they have a brighter future without him than they do with him, in my opinion. So Jimmy Neutron goes to the Pistons. The reason why I like this trade is actually because Simeon Fontecchio, I hope I'm pronouncing his first name correct, he actually had a crazy Eurobasket, crazy. This is a guy that was scoring 30-plus points in Euro basketball, which if you know how it averages out, that's like a near 50 ball in the NBA, just because of the defense, the players, Euro, country pride aside. Simeon Fontecchio was going off. This is a guy that barely gets any minutes in the league, and I think he will, especially one, because Tyler Hero's hurt. He will be, available mid-November. But then also, again, he just played well in Euro basketball. So I like this trade for that reason. And I hope that Fontecchio finds more minutes in the league because of how great of a Euro basketball season he had. And now with a brand new coach like Eric Spoelstra, who's now the USA men's head coach, I think he will do very well under that system, especially with Nikola Jovic. Yes, Jovic. There's a lot of Nikolas because it's Nikola Topic, Nikola Jovic, and Nikola Jokic. There's a lot. Anywho, what I also want to mention, and probably my favorite offseason trade, is the MPJ for Cam Johnson trade. This was actually kind of crazy. I don't think many people actually expected this type of trade. I certainly didn't. I like it for that reason, the shock factor of MPJ is gone. He gave himself as much time as he could in Denver, but sometimes those trios do kind of have to move on. We saw this with Klay Thompson in the Bay Area. Sometimes it's just time. And MPJ was on a very expensive contract because he had been with the team for so long. He was also a higher up draft pick, so his rookie extension was kind of high. And Cam Johnson, he got traded from the Suns to go to the Nets. He spent a few seasons there, and now he's back in a new environment as Denver, this is. So MPJ is going to Brooklyn. Cam Johnson is going to the Denver Nuggets, which, one, cheaper contract. 2, you're probably getting a better, more complete player than MPJ. So it's a win-win regardless. And I like this because MPJ kind of gets a team almost to himself. I mean, you have Nick Claxton on the team. You have Cam Thomas on the team. You have a bunch of rookies who are also kind of learning how to play in the NBA. And yeah, I really like this trade. That was by far my favorite offseason trade. The shock factor, the value that the Denver Nuggets and also the Nets got. Mind you, MPJ was probably the number 1 draft pick before his back injury. That's just kind of saying how good of a player he is and could be, especially in a new environment. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Cam Johnson in Denver. Now, I'm going to kind of speed run some of my worst offseason trades. There are going to be some offseason trades that you might have not even known. You might also just be hearing for the first time. Now, I'm going to give the list and then I'm going to give my least favorites, my worst offseason trades. So what I have here is Dario Saric for Valanciunas going to the Nuggets. So Dario Saric is going to the Kings, and Valanciunas is going to the Nuggets. Now, I like Valanciunas backing up Nikola. Denver now has a secondary center that can actually play minutes and actually do something with the ball. The other side of it is Dario Saric. That's all that you got back for Valanciunas. That's all you got back. It's more or less the haul that they got. And I believe that there was a pick involved too, which I believe actually went to the Kings. I didn't write it in here. I wrote all the other picks, but maybe not this one. I believe there was a 2nd round pick going to the Kings for Valanciunas, but it's Dario Saric and the Kings and a 2nd round pick for him. So that's not great. Bucks send Pat Connaughton to the Hornets for a 2031 and a 2032 second round pick for Vasa Micic. Who? Vasa Micic? You got to be kidding me. I will say not my favorite trade, especially because Pat Connaughton is a very good player, but you're sending Pat Connaughton with 2 picks? Now, mind you, this is more of a salary dump than anything. I guess they kind of had to do it, but you couldn't have gotten like something in return that wasn't like Vasa Micic. Anywho, I digress. Derek Queen, Pelicans, this was a draft day trade. So the Pelicans actually move up like 8 spots. They move up to pick 13. They draft Derek Queen. And then they also get, obviously, to the Hawks. Asa Newell goes to the Hawks in a 2026 first round pick, which is either the best of the New Orleans Pelicans or the Milwaukee Bucks, which are both teams are not going to be great. So, yeah. Not too favorable there, just because Derek Queen might possibly have been available at 20. You might have been able to move up more to like 18 and not actually give up like a huge haul like that 2026 first, but kind of crazy because if Derek Queen is that valuable for a first, you would have traded for him when you drafted Jeremiah Fears at number 9. So, yeah. Another worse offseason trade before we get into my least favorite. Desmond Bane trade to the Magic. So it's one player, Desmond Bane, who played for the Memphis Grizzlies. And in return, the Memphis Grizzlies got KCP, Cole Anthony, and 5 first-round picks. 5. Mind you, again, a huge salary dump. Cole Anthony actually got bought out by Milwaukee, so he's not even on the team. But I get it. You got to do the salary thing. He's probably he got waived, all of that. He got a buyout, right? But then also KCP, did not have a strong season. He had a very friendly contract over in Orlando, but was a very abysmal season for him from just an overall standpoint. And yeah, if I'm doing any of my worst trades, that all of these could very well be my worst trade. Very well. But I think my worst trade out of these 4, only because I don't like this move as much, and I think it has a greater impact, is going to be the Desmond Bane trade. I genuinely believe so. Desmond Bane is a great player, but you're having 3 ball handlers on that team, players that definitely need the ball in their hand. I don't like this move unless coach is going to figure it out. I don't know, but I don't like this just because you're giving up KCP, who you signed last free agency cycle. And then also Cole Anthony, which he played great for you. He got good minutes, but the team, I guess the Memphis Grizzlies also didn't take him. And then 5 first-round picks for him. Like, Orlando, you should be kind of building these pieces like you did with KCP. You didn't have to trade him. You didn't have to go waste picks on him. But Desmond Bane, for 5 first-round picks. Mind you, there's like 2 and 26 and 3 or 2 and 27 and 1 and 28. It's not great. My underrated trades, I really like this Pacers to Jay Huff. Pacers get Jay Huff for a 29 second-round pick swap and a 2031 second-round pick swap, which I really like. I'm surprised I didn't write the team that he was going to. But I like that trade for him. Oh, it was the Memphis Grizzlies. That's right, because Jay Huff did play. I had him on my fantasy. Fantasy's coming in 29 minutes, so that's great. So all that to say, I think this Jay Huff trade is actually going to be really good for the Pacers, only because the Pacers might still be a decently competent team with Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard. You're also looking at TJ McConnell, who's, I guess, injured right now, but he'll be fine for the most part of the season. This team will be able to hold it out. It's very similar to like what the Celtics have right now, where they're missing their star player. They're missing their number one option, but I think with their 2 through 5 will be decently all right, especially with Jay Huff now on the team. So I like that trade. My underrated trade, this is going to be my underrated trade. It's not biased. I am a Miami Heat fan, but the Brooklyn Nets trade for Haywood Highsmith in a 2032 second, and the Heat get a 2026 second, which could go in my worst offseason trade if I were the Miami Heat. But I really like this trade for one of 2 reasons. Haywood Highsmith, interestingly enough, he is a starter. He probably will start for this Brooklyn Nets team. But they also get a pick later down when the Miami Heat might not be good. But then, you kind of got him for nothing. You get a pick in return, and you only send out next year's second, which, again, you already drafted a bunch of people this year. I like it. I'm not going to lie. I really, really like this. Just because Haywood Highsmith is actually a decently good player. He's a starting caliber small forward and a great defensive guy, which I think that Brooklyn Nets team is going to be crazy on the defensive end. I mean, they have Nick Claxton on the interior. You're going to have Haywood Highsmith on the perimeter. You're also going to have Zaire Williams, who's just a ball magnet. I like this. I like this move a lot. Now, just to give a few shout-outs, my favorite offseason free agency signing. Luke Cornett goes back home. He goes to Texas. He's not back, but he goes from the Celtics to the Spurs on a very friendly contract. Jordan Clarkson goes from the Jazz to the Knicks on a very friendly contract. He's probably going to be backing up Jalen Brunson now that Malcolm Brogdon's gone. You're also looking at Tim Hardaway Jr. going from the Pistons to the Nuggets, which I also really like. So, all of that to say, I think my favorite offseason signing, I like that Jordan Clarkson Jazz trade. I like that. Just not from a Jazz trade perspective, free agency signing. I mean, I guess you'll lose out on him if you're a Jazz, but I think his time was up there. I think he's a great backup point guard, I guess shooting guard. But he should find himself a good amount of minutes, especially with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson and that whole rotation. So I really like that. My favorite though, maybe not speaking in like what's best for the team, but I'm not going to lie. I really, really love that Luke Cornett free agency signing. I really like it. I mention it for one of 2 reasons, because you have Victor Wembanyama, who is your center, ball handler, defensive presence on the interior. But then now you add Luke Cornett, who had great minutes in the Celtics. And he got out of there. He was able to get out. He did not have to worry, about having to kind of just be buns this season. They replaced him with Keita. And I guess he was kind of back up to Kristaps Porzingis when he was out for some time. But overall, Luke Cornett gets freed, and he also backs up a semi-injury prone Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he was out for a lot of the back half of last season, but I don't think that necessarily will happen this season for him. But what I do think is that it allows Victor Wembanyama to just at least pace himself a little bit more. So I like the Luke Cornett Celtics to the Spurs trade on a 4-year friendly deal. Now, to my worst offseason free agency signing, I only have one option. Only one option. Can you guess what it is? If you're a basketball fan, feel free to guess what it is. I'm going to mention what my worst offseason free agency signing is in 3, 2, Miles Turner going to the Bucks. That is my worst free agency signing. And it's not because of Miles Turner. It's because of the Bucks organization. They had to give Miles Turner, obviously, a very big contract. But what they also had to do to make that actually possible was they have the waive and stretch Damian Lillard, which I understand. I get it. The Bucks organization post-championship has been like, they peaked championship and they've been just coasting. They're a stalling plane at this point. I don't like it because you have to get rid of Dame. You have to waive and stretch him. I understand he probably would have been out for all of this year. Again, I guess I also like his free agency signing over in Portland. I really like it. Gets to mentor a lot of those young guys and is also back with his alma mater in a way, right? But that's by far my worst offseason signing. I just think so. Miles Turner, I mean, I get it, why he would maybe want a new type of scenery, but it looks like the Indiana Pacers never really gave Miles Turner what he wanted, or they never really offered anything, so they were just willing to move on. And now, the Pacers have Jay Huff, they have Thomas Bryant, technically James Wiseman's still on the team. They, I think, 4 centers on the team, 2 of them out with an Achilles injury, which they'll be back. But yeah, my underrated free agency signing of this offseason, 1, Luke Kennard from the Grizzlies to the Hawks, Kevon Looney from the Warriors to the Pelicans, and Johnny Juzang from the Jazz to the Timberwolves. Now, I like these for all of these reasons. Great three-point shooting from Luke Kennard. Johnny Juzang looked great in preseason. Kevon Looney is coming in with, he's only 29, by the way. 29 years old. He's obviously coming off a very big dynasty that the Warriors did have, and he comes in with a lot of experience. He will be a great player, especially for the development of like Derek Queen, someone that plays very similar to him. And I like it. I mean, Kevon Looney is a big man. He's a dog. Luke Kennard, highest 3-point % shooting for like what feels like forever. And he goes to a up-and-coming Hawks. What I also think is Johnny Juzang, after watching his preseason, he was just kind of just like sat on the bench the entire time when he was with the Jazz. So like I think this signing, very cheap, also gets him on a team that will probably utilize him a lot more. And I like all of these. My favorite one, though, I think I like these all. I like Johnny Juzang just because it's personal for him. I like Luke Kennard because that's a very good piece for the Hawks in building the season. Kevon Looney, one of my favorite players. He goes to the Pelicans, right? He goes to the Pelicans, a team that maybe has, Jordan Poole again. They're back linking up. And I thought they played very well together. I think my favorite free agency signing is probably going to be that underrated is going to be that Luke Kennard Grizz to the Hawks. I think it gets overshadowed by the Kristaps Porzingis trade. It also gets that Nickeil Alexander free agency signing. I think it just kind of gets overshadowed, right? Because of that. But I think the Hawks were building and they snuck in, got Luke Kennard. That's by far my favorite underrated free agency signing. Now, few custom rewards or awards. I have Underdog Team of the Year and Overhyped Team of the Year. Teams that, again, underdogs, people expect them not to be as good this season. But maybe obviously, win a handful of games, they go on a streak, they become a new favorite for people. I have the Brooklyn Nets up there. It's been right in front of you this entire time. I have the Brooklyn Nets up there. Now, this is a team with MPJ, Nick Claxton, like I mentioned, Terrence Mann, who I believe was actually either on a trade, Day'Ron Sharpe, Cam Thomas, who's on a very friendly minimum deal, or restricted offering, right? Haywood Highsmith, again, we mentioned his trade, and Zaire Williams, which is, that's a great rotation. You had a handful of other people. You also add the rookies in there, the 5 bazillion rookies that they have. And this, to me, is the Nets AAU team. I describe this team as like a expansion team. These are people that you're like, they're the 3rd, 4th option on your team. You get a few draft picks, you draft them. This is the Nets AAU team. And I think that they're going to be a team that clicks in ways. It's just going to be fun. It's going to feel like kind of like these Chino Hills back in 2016 where, you just have, take the ball. MPJ, you take the ball. Cam Thomas, you take the ball. Terrence Mann, you take the ball. I like it. I like it for that reason. I just do. I think a lot of people are like, this team sucks. They drafted 5 rookies. They're very expensive. They're all going to have to be decently good. You already traded Cam Thomas away for MPJ. Cam Thomas was on a restricted free agency deal, and he picked up like there was trouble with that throughout the offseason. I just like it, man. I don't know what it is. I just feel like they're going to be one of my favorite teams to kind of watch. Not because I'm a Brooklyn Net fan. I'm a KD fan, right? I'm wearing his jersey, right? But what I think is important to note, and I guess to understand, is that this team will be just fun to watch, right? I think that this team is just going to be fun to watch. They're going to have, again, 2 big ball handlers. You're going to have a great perimeter and interior defense. They're going to actually do decently well. I would not be surprised if Michael Porter Jr. was not averaging like 24 points. I would not be surprised. He does not swing the rock. There is no assist bone in this man's body. The possession ends here, Porter Jr. and the Nets AAU team. I'm excited about him. Another team that I'm actually kind of excited about is the Wizards. Kind of odd to say, but I think that they're going to be a very underrated team. I think a lot of players are going to be looking at this team and being like, damn, we should actually be a little bit more scared. Now, I mentioned this for one of two reasons. The Wizards last season was it was a very interesting team. They had a Chris Middleton trade throughout midseason. CJ McCollum is now on the team, which I'm excited about. You're also looking at Cam Whitmore. He was there for a trade. I believe he got traded in a random offseason trade. You're also looking at Alex Sarr, who was the second overall pick last season. Trey Johnson, who they drafted from Texas. Bilal Coulibaly, again, French teammate to Victor Wembanyama, has been very good. Bud Carrington, Corey Kispert. So you're looking at 3-point shooting, interior defense, veteranship, and just straight dog. Cam Whitmore, CJ McCollum, who could give you 50 points any given night, right? Alex Sarr, again, just these very skinny guys, by the way. They're very skinny. All of them are very skinny. I think the widest person, the thickest person is actually CJ McCollum. Maybe Cam Whitmore. Yeah, they're all very skinny dudes. Trey Johnson, Bilal Coulibaly, Bud Carrington, Alex Sarr, and Chris Middleton are all like the skinniest dudes. So the Washington Skinnies are a team that I'm very excited about. The Raptors, I just have on here, not for any particular reason. Maybe they sneak in to the play-in. Maybe they just do. They have a very expensive starting five. They just do. But Emmanuel Quigley, you're also looking at Scotty Barnes. You have Jakob Poeltl. A team that's probably not going to go deep in the playoffs, but I would not be surprised if they magically did. But I don't think they will. But just a team that I'm like, you know what? A lot of people are like, yeah, wow, they actually gave us a run for our money. You know, you look at a team like the Thunder, they're going to be a difficult team, right? You expect that. I don't think you expect these teams to be as difficult on the schedule as I think you would before the season started. But all Eastern Conference teams, by the way. All that to say, my overhyped team of the year. I mentioned it earlier. There was a trade that I did not like, and that was the Desmond Bane trade. I mentioned that there were three people. You're talking about Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is a great three-point shooter. Doesn't really solve your problem. It doesn't. He also is a player that needs the ball in his hand. Again, the two others that were kind of a two-headed demon, but what I think you do is keep those picks, go in on the two-headed demon, and fill out with some veteran players, or maybe take those picks and maybe trade for someone, right? Maybe trade for a younger defensive guy. I mean, you have Jalen Suggs. I mean, there was a lot of injuries on this team, but a lot of people have them very high. Where do I have them on my list? Yeah. I do not have them very high on my standings, but you guys will find out here in a sec. But yes, the first team is the Magic, three-headed demon, being ball handlers. Jalen Suggs, was basically the point guard for Gonzaga. He's a great defensive guy. He's kind of switched up his overall playmaking ability. He went out with a fortunate injury. You have Anthony Black still on the team. It's just a team that I just don't think, especially given this Eastern Conference, I'm like scared about. They were one of the worst scoring offensive teams last season. Their defense was still pretty good. They did give the Celtics a run for their money, and I would not have been surprised. The series was actually pretty close before Jason Tatum went out in the second round. But this is kind of crazy to say. I think Orlando probably would have won that series if Jason Tatum had actually gotten hurt. The games were close. The games just were. 7 points is not that far, right? So that's my first overhyped team. My second overhyped team. This comes as a little bit of a surprise, but it's the Lakers. DeAndre Ayton signs. Marcus Smart signs. They get Jake LaRavia. Bronny James going into his second year. Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, LeBron James. That's your three-headed demon, which, mind you could say very similar to the Orlando Magic with people needing the ball in their hands. Austin Reeves can man himself pretty well. You're also looking at Luka Doncic, again, somebody that definitely needs the ball in his hands. LeBron James is out right now with sciatica. I just don't think that this team is going to find that same success. I love JJ Redick. I do. But that the bench depth is, and Gabe Vincent looked all right in the first half against, in their preseason game against the Warriors. Was it the Warriors? Against Dallas. So there is a few things that I just think don't really put this team on like a pedestal like they're like other teams. They were one of the last teams to sign anyone in free agency. They hardly made any moves. Like it just felt like what they were doing was not great. LeBron James also picked up his $54 million player option. That is a lot of money. A lot. It just is. So all that to say, LeBron James, again, out. This team will... The one thing that I think just with this team being overhyped, I'm a big Luka Doncic fan. He's my favorite player in the league. Is that that team is just going to find themselves in so many close games. They just are. So with that being said, I want to get into my standings. I'm going to go basically from bottom up. So basically the last team in each conference to the best team in each conference. So let's start with the Eastern Conference because this team, this side of the NBA, of the association, is a little weaker without the Indiana Pacers, the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks not doing great. Those are 3 playoff teams. So who's going to fill in those spots? Let's find out. So I think the worst team in the East is the Washington Wizards. Surprisingly enough. But I still think they maybe win like 15 to 20 games. Chicago Bulls next. I have the Brooklyn Nets after them. I have the Boston Celtics, unfortunately, without Jason Tatum, out with an Achilles injury in, I guess, 12th. In 11th, I have the Indiana Pacers, which I'm not going to lie, I probably could have put them higher just because they're really only missing Tyrese Halliburton. They didn't like shake up their entire team. I mean, they lost their starting point guard and their starting center. But, I mean, Pascal, Andrew Nembhard, TJ McConnell, and Benedict Mathurin, they might be able to, but maybe they do struggle a little bit more. I probably could have put them ahead of a few of these teams here. Oh, I probably should. Because the next team is the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks are... I think they make the playoffs, okay? Here's what I'm going to do. So here's how it goes. 15 Wizards, 14 Bulls, 13 Nets, 12 Boston Celtics. In 11, the Charlotte Hornets. In 10th, the Toronto Raptors. No. Excuse me. In 10th, no. In 11th, the Charlotte Hornets, missing the playoffs. In 10th, the Milwaukee Bucks. In 9th, the Toronto Raptors. In 8th, the Indiana Pacers. That's how it should go. I have it wrong here. Let it be known. I also think, so in 7th, Miami Heat. I have in 6th, the Orlando Magic. Detroit Pistons up ahead of them, which again, Orlando Magic, I have them in 7th. It's kind of crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have them in 6, excuse me. But yeah, I have technically that is a jump up, but I think that's more or less because the team's coming down. I have the Detroit Pistons back in the top 5. The 76ers, as long as they're healthy, they'll be a top 4 seed. Now here's where it gets dicey. I have the Atlanta Hawks in 3rd. The Knicks in 2nd, and of course the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they come in still with a great team in 1st in the Eastern Conference, which I could see the Knicks actually maybe going up there with a new head coach, Mike Brown, but I don't think that's the case. Now in the Western Conference, probably the more cutthroat conference out of the two, I have, first and foremost here, the Utah Jazz. I have them in 15th. In 14th place, I have the Sacramento Kings. That is a team that has made some free agency signings that I have no idea what in the world they're doing. Next up, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. I know that they might have been a team that was an underdog, but I'm going to have them in that 13th position. In 12th, I have the Portland Trail Blazers. I only think that's just because of all the really great teams above them. Now, up next, I have the Phoenix Suns. A lot of guard play for the Phoenix Suns. Next up, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. I think they're going to have an injury bug again. They always do. It would not. My expectations would not get the best of me, or would get the best of me if I did not say that they would not be a 10th seed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Barely made it, Memphis. Then we have the Dallas Mavericks in 9. Kind of crazy. In 8th place, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. I did not want to put them there. I think that they're definitely like a top 5 seed, but I looked at some of these other teams and I'm like, I don't think that's going to be the case. Next up, I have the Golden State Warriors in the 7th seed. Next up in the 6th seed, I have the San Antonio Spurs. I think they have a great year. I think they do. I think they do defensively. They're going to be unstoppable. So I have them in the 6th seed. In the 5th seed, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves, which I'm not going to lie. I did think that they would be a worse team last season, which they kind of were for some time, but they did actually kind of come on strong in that latter half of the season. So they're my 5th seed. In the 4th seed, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. I have them at seed 4. Now, here's where things are a little interesting, okay? In 3rd place, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think they repeat as a 1 seed, but I think it's going to be close. It's going to be very much like the seed before, or as Denver, where it was the Wolves, and I believe also the Thunder, where they all kind of just shared the same record at like 53 wins. So I think that'll be good. Next up, in 2nd place, the 2nd seed, the 2 seed, I have the Houston Rockets. I know they lost Fred VanVleet, which is a huge blow. They obviously move on from Cam Whitmore. Dylan Brooks is gone. Jalen Green is gone. Those are a lot of missing people, but they sign on Dorian Finney-Smith. I think they get the 2 seed. I genuinely believe that they get the 2 seeds. So that means in seed 1, I believe the Denver Nuggets are going to get the 1st seed. They are going to be a wrecking crew. Nikola Jokic is going to have another MVP-like season. I think there's a lot of people that could be up for it. Nikola obviously being one of them. He should be, and always should be, as long as he's in his prime. So those are my standings. I'm not going to lie. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below on what you think my, seeds are. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know maybe who you think might win the Eastern and Western Conference. Maybe just like top 5. I feel like that's always fair. Now, I want to get into my awards here for this season, okay? We also have 7 minutes, so we're going to be speed running this. So, in the awards, we obviously have MVP, DPOY, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Most Improved Player, Coach of the Year, and Clutch Player of the Year. Now, I have an award called the Comeback Player of the Year. This is very similar to what the NFL has, where somebody got injured or their career is down in the dirt. Someone that I believe, is making a comeback. Maybe was overseas for some time and came back. I'm going to start with Coach of the Year. I think Quinn Snyder and the Atlanta Hawks are going to get that. Again, I have them very high up. I think they have them at the 3rd seed. Yeah, I have them at the 3rd seed, which I think Quinn Snyder, he's a great coach. He was a Jazz coach for a long time. He moves to the Hawks after getting fired, and I like it. So he's going to be my Coach of the Year. My Most Improved Player of the Year, I have as MPJ. He's, in that mid to high 10s. I would not be surprised if he's at 22 to 24 points, just based on the team that he's on. So I believe that he will be the most improved player. He's still a great player, but I think it's going to be a setting in an environment in a team that unlocks a little bit more of his true potential. So I'm a big MPJ fan. Sixth Man of the Year, I have Jordan Clarkson. I have him coming off the bench, obviously, for the New York Knicks, and I believe he will be a great Sixth Man of the Year. Someone also, Josh Hart, I don't know how they're going to work him. I don't know how they're going to work, Austin Reeves, just because, yes, he's a better player than Marcus Smart, but, you need that defense to kind of start because you're going to have 2 guards that can't defend, and it could be really bad. So that's what I believe, and who I believe will be the Sixth Man of the Year. Rookie of the Year, Cooper Flagg. Now, it's not too out of vein for a Dallas Maverick fan to put Cooper Flagg in there, but you're also looking at VJ Ebcone. Ace Bailey, I think, will have a great rookie campaign in Utah. It will be genuinely shocking if Cooper doesn't win it, barring any injury, of course. But, Ace Bailey looked good in preseason. I think that it could be Co. I'm not going to lie. Could be Co. It might also just be Ace Bailey. But I'm going to go with Cooper Flagg. I'm going to trust what I've seen during the USA practices. I like it a lot. The one thing is that Ace Bailey probably will average around 18 points. I generally believe that. He is definitely a very complete offensive player. But I think Cooper's a little bit more of the well-rounded player that he is for the first overall draft pick. Defensive player of the year, Wembanyama. If he's not alive or if he's injured, he's not winning it. But every year he's in the league and he plays 65 games, he wins it. So Wembanyama is my DPOY. My clutch player of the year is Luka Doncic. I only mention this because how clutch he is, 1. 2, we're getting skinny Luka action. 3, how close the Lakers games are going to be all season. It's just going to be that way. So I believe that Luka is going to get clutch player of the year just because of that reason alone. Now, who I think will get MVP this season? I mentioned him earlier. And guess what? It's been right in front of you the entire time. I mentioned Kevin Durant will win MVP for the 2025-26 season. I genuinely believe that he might actually have a MVP caliber season. He's playing with a little less of a secondary person like Devin Booker. He's also averaged 25 to 27 points per game. And on a very efficient note, 50, 40, 90 splits. You're also looking at a team like the Rockets who will still do well. Obviously a top 4 seed, at least in my eyes. And I believe, regardless of how Nikola Jokic plays, Kevin Durant will probably get the MVP. Because I think, 1, voter fatigue for Nikola Jokic. 2, he had a statistically the best season of all time last season and then didn't win it. So again, voter fatigue. 2, then the Denver team got a lot better, so less of a worse supporting cast. So no matter how the Denver Nuggets do, it's kind of expected, right? Whereas like when Nikola won a lot of his, and even Russell Westbrook, it was because the team was so bad that like that team, that person could not actually like win it if they weren't a good team. And I think Kevin Durant, over 10 years between MVPs, I think he finally gets a second one. I genuinely believe that. Now, you could look at someone like Giannis, but that team's probably not going to be as good. You could look at someone like Shea, but I think Jalen Williams is going to take a jump. I think Chet's going to take a jump, so that team as a whole is going to be a lot better. Whereas Kevin, I think, is going to be the sole Slim Reaper that he is in Houston and will win the MVP for this season, which cannot be more excited about. On top of that, a few things before we go. I'm doing 75 hard. I got my gallon of water, which almost empty, which I'm very excited about. Done one workout today. Got to do a lot of workouts. So if you guys don't know what 75 hard is, this is my second day. You need to read 10 pages of a nonfiction or fiction book. It cannot be an audiobook. You need to stick to a fixed and strict diet, so no alcohol, no cheat meals. On top of that, you also need to get 2 workouts in, 1 45-minute outdoor workout or 1 45 indoor/outdoor workout. You could choose, but it has to be 45 minutes, 2 a day. You also need to take a progress photo every single day. And like I mentioned, drink a gallon of water every day for 75 days. And I started it yesterday, October 16th, October 17th, because that means there was 75 days left in 2025. So very excited about that. Some exciting news. Markiplier got married. He got married. Would you look at him? Markiplier got married, which is super awesome. The Enjoy Basketball guys, Kenny Beecham, Pierre, D. Mills, Mike, they actually signed a deal with NBC, which I absolutely love for them. Kenny, King of the Fourth Quarter, does a bunch of rebuilds. He's a YouTuber, and him and his crew, the Enjoy Basketball numbers on the board team, were signed with ESPN and Omaha Productions, which is Peyton Manning's team there. And they signed with NBC, which I'm really excited to see how that goes. I've loved watching Kenny. My sister actually started watching Kenny in all of the rebuilds, and I got into him because of her. And with that being said, it is 8 o'clock. Should we actually go through the draft here? Maybe we could do my first ever draft. Hold on live air. It's 55 minutes. Wow. Yep, I am on the clock. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm actually so happy I did that. I'm going to draft Victor Wembanyama. I have to. It was either Giannis Antetokounmpo or Victor Wembanyama. Who went first? Nikola Jokic, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah, I got to go Victor Wembanyama. Those defensive stats are going to be crazy. Someone drafted Giannis. Chase, if you're smart, you draft Luka Doncic here. If you're smart, you draft Luka Doncic. I'm not going to lie. Maybe we could go. How many draft picks? Do we just do my draft live? How long is it going to take? These things are always so long. How many? Oh my gosh, it's so many people. how many rounds? 13 rounds? This is the Realest Podcast. I'm not going to lie. Here's what we'll do. I will come back right before we pick each time. That's what I'll do. I will come back so you don't have to sit through an hour of fantasy draft. Alrighty, the draft is officially done. I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out who I picked up because there was 13 rounds. Yep, there was 13 rounds. It took about an hour and 20 minutes. They're still going on. They still have, the back half. I was picked number 3. So luckily I was able to get some really good people. So I'm just going to go through my draft itself, pick by pick, who I picked. I guess not necessarily why I picked them, but just kind of filling up my roster. Obviously, there was a few people taken. Tyrese Halliburton was taken. He's not playing this year. Malcolm Brogdon was taken. He's retired. So there's a lot going on and whatnot too. It's been a pretty long draft so far. I don't know why, but we've been taking quite a long time to get through these 13 rounds. So with my first pick at 1.3, so round 1, pick 3, I picked up Victor Wembanyama. I talked about him being my defensive player of the year, which I thought and was very happy to be able to pick him up. So Nikola Jokic actually went first, and then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went second. I tried to not take 2 players from the same team. I've done that in the past, and that's kind of bit me in the butt. So let's say I picked Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's they're sharing the load. And so I wanted to try and not have that happen. I tried picking up Chris Boucher for the Celtics. And I was like, I already have Jaylen Brown. It does mean that I still could get points, but if I could at least eliminate that and pick the best option on some team, I wanted Jordan Poole. I didn't get Jordan Poole, so I wanted someone else to take place of that. I always try and pick a rookie that I think is going to do very well. I happen to get 2 of them. So with my first overall pick, I picked up Victor Wembanyama in round 1. In round 2, I picked up Jaylen Brown, who is basically the number 1 option for the Boston Celtics this year. In round 3, I picked Bam Adebayo. Yes, I did mention I'm a Miami Heat fan. I didn't realize at the time. I'm just realizing now. I also picked up Tyler Hero. But that is a tandem that I feel pretty confident in, that they will be able to work very well. They will be the 2 best players on a team. So I know I just said that. I also did not realize that I picked 2 players from the same team until now. I needed a shooting guard, and I believe who was picked just before. I wanted LaMelo Ball. I didn't get him. And so I kind of had to pivot to another guard, which happened to be Tyler Hero. So I picked him up. In round 5, I got OG Anunoby. I believe I had him on my team last year. I'm not too sure, but I did have him picked in round 5. In round 6, I had CJ McCollum. He is going to be the starting shooting guard for the Washington Wizards. He's, again, a guy that will also be able to pick a lot. I also thought about picking DeJounte Murray. It seems like somebody just picked up DeJounte Murray. But what is it? He's hurt until January, which I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. So I ended up not picking him. I thought about picking him, but he's going to ride my bench for 2.5 months. I don't really want that. I'd rather get some points, try and win, because there's a lot of weeks. So fantasy in here is basically every single day you set up your matchup, people that are playing, people that are not playing, obviously you ride the bench. And so you try, but he's going to be riding my bench because he's not playing for 2.5 months. So I didn't want that. So yeah, with that being said, oh, there we go. Back to my board. I picked up CJ McCollum in round number 6. Oh, I guess I can't look at that now. Can I not? Oh, I guess, what probably would have been good is you pick him up and then you put him on IR. But what about if somebody goes to IR? That would be pretty bad. I would not want that to happen. My team. So, yep, then I picked up Ace Bailey in round 7. I only picked him there because if I didn't pick him, I'd be picking at 126 and maybe somebody else took him. He had an average draft of 140, and I was like, I did not want to risk that. Again, I thought about him having a really good season, him being a starting, I guess, small forward, but one of their main leading scorers in their starting unit. So I picked him up. I picked 99. In my 8th round, I picked up Chris Paul. I needed a true point guard. I didn't really pick a point guard. He's the only true point guard. So I picked him up in round 8, and then I went deep into my bag. I you know what? I went back to Washington. I did not realize this, but I picked up Cam Whitmore. I thought, and I think that he will do really well. I picked him up. He's one of those guys I'm like, man, I need to go get. I kind of also forgot because it had taken forever that I picked up CJ McCollum. So picked him up in round 9. In round 10, I picked Yevis Missy. He is their center for New Orleans. He had a great rookie campaign last season. The Pelicans picked up his third-year option, which I'm really happy about. He was also on my team last season as well, and I thought he did really well. So I picked him up again in round 10 at pick 158. In round 11 at 161, I picked up VJ Edgecombe, my second rookie of the draft. I picked him up. Really, really, really wanted him just because, I thought that he would be really great. I thought he would be really great because Jared McCain's out as of right now. I also wanted Jared McCain. I did not get Jared McCain. It happens. There's players I wanted. I wanted Jordan Poole. Didn't get him. I wanted Jared McCain. Didn't get him. I wanted, there's a handful of people I did not get, but I really wanted a lot of these people. And guess what? I did not get any of them. I'm going to find out who else I wanted. Jaden Ivey. There was a player I was like, maybe Chris Boucher, maybe. Who was another player? Did Aaron pick? He might have picked who I thought he picked. He picked Grady Dick. That was really funny. Who was it? Somebody picked up a player that I really, really wanted. And I can't find who it is. I mean, there's Jalen Suggs, Najee Harris. Maybe it's all the way at the top. I don't remember who it was, but maybe it was. No, Jared McCain with the final pick in round 13. I really wanted him. Did not get him. Who was it? Because it was somebody either north or behind me, maybe. Jaden Ivey. I mean, I wasn't too mad about that. Somebody picked up Kyrie Irving, too. That's a very interesting pick. Someone was auto-drafting, which I'm not mad about. Darius Garland, I was maybe thinking about. Didn't end up picking him. Yeah, I don't really know who it was. Maybe it was early. Maybe it wasn't. There was definitely another player that I was like, I wanted, and it got taken. But maybe Jared McCain was the only player that I like truly saw, and I was like, no, I don't know. But that's my team. I also picked Sadiq Bey in the 12th round and Grayson Allen in the 13th round as my final pick. So I wonder, I'm just going to do this right now. I wonder if I just put someone on like IR. Technically, I could put Tyler Hero on IR, right? And then maybe I could pick up another player, right? Tyrese Halliburton. Like, I could. Let me do some research here. Like, who's picking up? Fred VanVleet's been out. Lonzo. Could pick up Lonzo. That's a point guard. I'll pick up Lonzo. I guess I can't drop him. No. Oh, I guess maybe I can't. Wait, is this the claims? Yeah, I guess I can't claim him yet. I'm going to have to wait until we get into the week. But I would, because Tyler Hero's going to be out. I might as well just put Tyler Hero on my IR, pick up Lonzo. So with that being said, Nationers, thank you guys again so much for watching episode 85 of The Realest Podcast. I hope you guys did enjoy a little bit of that NBA draft fantasy. I think I got an idea while I was doing the draft of like, we had 16 people. We put out 16 teams, right? And basically we, in theory, we put the people that they drafted on each team and we see who has the best lineup. That would be kind of cool for a little video. So with that all being said, we might do that for Madden and NBA 2K. So with that being said now, thank you guys again so much for watching episode 85 of The Realest Podcast. Banners right behind me. I'll see you guys in about 2 weeks, a little after Halloween. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. 07. And peace. Peace.